Welcome, Chefeteers. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we are back on our journey to an organized kitchen. We are here with professional organizer Pam to talk about club store storage. So whenever you come home from those wholesale stores and you're buying all of your items in bulk, how can you store them in a way that keeps your spaces organized and avoids too much overflow of items? So Pam, thank you for being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So our icebreaker question today is, what is your favorite road trip snack?
Oh, I would have to say, boy, potato chips. Oh my gosh. There's something about the crunch and the salt. Yes, especially, I think crunchiness is important for a snack on the road. It's interesting for your mouth, yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. So whenever we go to these wholesale club stores, we sometimes fill our carts up really full, and then we get home and we wonder, how did I buy so much stuff? So what happens whenever we see items in the club store versus at home?
Yes. Well, I want to talk about scale. The scale, meaning when you think about when you go to the grocery store, think about the size of the cart and where your hands are on the cart. And then realize when you go to one of the big club stores, the handle is usually up and it's about 2 times the size of a grocery cart. So then you walk into a huge building where everything is big. And then when you're in the store, okay, those are all the items that's all you have are big amounts to choose. And then you come home, or even when you're trying to get in the car, you come home and go, oh my gosh, because now you're back in your home with your regular scale of items, you know, how big things are. And so that is the biggest thing, is to realize it's like you're like going to another planet where everything is bigger.
And so planning beforehand, really like what you're going to have space for when you come home is important so that you don't end up overbuying.
Absolutely. And the first thing would be the list. If you're someone who does a list for groceries, this would definitely be a list, and they know how to do it. When you walk in, usually that first aisle has like seasonal things, and you're like, oh, well, you know, I think I need another fan, or those beach towels are beautiful. And so we just expect that you're going to be entertained to buy more. And then you get to ask yourself, okay, how am I going to feel about this purchase a few weeks from now? And then you can always go back to the list, and you can even write yourself a note, pause. Do you really want that item that appears cool and wonderful right now? And so that'd be the thing, to be the list, and you have your coupons or your card. And then the big thing is, before you go, you empty out the car of any extra things. Like I have a cart that I use to take things up to my mom. So I take that cart out so I have extra room. And I do have bungee cords, but I'd prefer not to have to bungee cord my trunk, you know, with Kleenex and toilet paper sticking out the end. And then the other key thing is, think about homes. Everything wants a home. And when you bring these things home, where are they going to go? In your home. So it does help to go through and look, especially in the garage. That's where a lot of us store our tissue and toilet paper and extra paper towels, and look and see, can you make some more room? Do you have enough? Or are you one of those people like me? I feel more secure if I have like 2 or 3 months worth of toilet paper. I don't know where that came from, but there's something about that makes me feel abundant. And it really helped during COVID. It really helped because people were panicked, and I had enough to share. So going back to, yes, making space. And then and in the kitchen to look where, if you have open shelving, where can you put things on top? How can you do creative stacking in a corner of the kitchen where you kind of make yourself a little tower of products? It wouldn't take up much room. So those are the things I think can really make a difference when you're heading off to the big box store, the club stores.
So we're at the store, we're done buying stuff, we're packing up our car. Now we're home. And is there a method to unpacking the car in the best way?
Yes, I recommend that you take the cold items and items that need to be in the freezer, and you take those out of the car first. So when you're packing the car in the parking lot, please put those things closest to the door or closest to the end of the trunk. And I believe you ought to pace yourself. So you've already wrangled all these things. You chose them, you got them in the cart, you maybe checked out yourself, or you had to put some of them on the conveyor belt. So now take the frozen and the cold and bring those in the house and put those away. Then sit down and have a glass of water or something, just even sitting down for 5 or 10 minutes. And then you can also see who else is in the house. And this is when you'd want to ask, hey, will you help me unload the car? And then go out and do the second phase, which are the non-perishable items.
And so with those freezer items, how should we be looking at our freezer to make sure that all of our bulk items are going to fit, and nothing gets pushed too far to the back to where you maybe won't find it?
You can tape a Post-it with a date, or you can take a big permanent marker. What do you recommend, Chef? What do you do?
Yeah, so I think that labeling is always important. So, putting your purchase date on it. And if you have a date in mind where you say, I want to make sure that I use this up by this date, you could also put a second date that's like your own use by date on it. Mm-hmm. If there are very large portions, you could consider breaking them up into smaller portions before you freeze it. So sometimes we'll buy something that is not already frozen, like maybe a big tray of hamburger meat, and then you could separate it into different sandwich baggies so that whenever you're ready to thaw those, you don't have to thaw the whole big tray. Yes. You can just thaw your individual bag. Definitely label what it is, because ground hamburger, ground turkey can look very similar, so you don't want to get those confused. And then anything that's been in there a while, I would recommend you just pull towards the front corner so that you know that that's the first place to grab for items. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I noticed that with, they have wonderful soups in some of the stores, but the container is like this. And for me, then what I do is I take one of those and put that in the freezer, and then eat the other one, and that makes a difference. And I see the point of, yes, once things are in the freezer, you may think you'll remember, but it all starts to look like just a big frozen ice glob. So remember that even though you have a great memory, you've got it all looks the same. It all looks the same. So yes, rotation I can see is very important.
Rotating our inventory first in, first out as we're filling it with those bulk items.
Exactly.
And then with pantry items, so depending on what kind of pantry you have, it may be very large and spacious, it may be very small. So how can we add those bulk items in a way that we can still reach everything that we need, and those big huge bags of chips or things aren't getting in the way?
Well, yes, definitely breaking it down, even thinking about using big resealable bags, and then putting a big clip on the big chips so they can actually be stored somewhere else and then refilled. The other thing would be to put the things that you like the most and you eat the most right there in front. You're like, okay, these are my favorite foods. Let's not fight it. I'm not going to throw them in the back. And then to every once in a while, you actually reach back there and see what you've got and say, oh, is this the other things we've talked about? We're putting in plastic trays or a cardboard tray that so that you open up your pantry and you can actually pull that out, and then you can easily see what's there. Like you'd pile chips or something easy to move. You wouldn't keep packing other lots of cans on top. So when you pulled out, they would all topple around. You want to contain, containment for enjoyment. You contain your food for enjoyment and ease of access.
Yes, awesome. And we do have that whole video about pantry organization. So if anybody is curious about learning more about pantry organization specifically, you can just scroll up in the episodes and find that one and watch that. And then lastly, with those paper goods that you were talking about before, making space in the garage, if people don't have a garage or maybe they don't have much space out there, where are some other good places to think of keeping those large bulk paper towels, Kleenex, or toilet paper?
If you have a second bedroom, that's a great place for the closet. The other thing, if you do have a second bedroom and it's not being used all the time, you can stack those things up. And if you don't want to have to look at the labels, you can actually take a sheet or a beautiful blanket, and it's like you've made yourself just a mini table there, or like, the size of an end table. But you know that your paper products are there, but you get to see like your grandma's beautiful quilt instead of the labeling. So think in terms of, because these things are usually square, they think of, okay, what can I build with this? Yeah, what can I build with this? Or something that the cat will like to jump on. Yeah, cat towers with tissue and toilet paper. And then you hear, they may fall over. But again, think it's really about thinking how you can make living fun. And it can be something like that, throwing something colorful over storage items.
Well, thank you all for joining us. We hope that the next time you go to a club store, you are prepared, and whenever you get home, you know exactly where you'll put your items, and you can create decorative elements to make life and storage more fun. Thank you, Pam, for joining us today, and we look forward to our next chat. Thank you all. See you later.